Imagine this moment. The night sky suddenly explodes with the sound of sirens. People rush through the streets. Windows tremble. Phones light up with urgent warnings. Fear spreads everywhere. But inside a small home, something unexpected happens. A man quietly looks at the clock, not to escape, not to run, but to check one thing. Is it time to break the fast? Because even while danger surrounds them, even when uncertainty fills the air, Ramadan continues. This is the reality for many believers today. Across the world, in places where life is unpredictable, millions of Muslims wake before dawn, whisper their intention, and begin their fast. Not because life is easy, but because their faith is stronger than their fear. In cities facing tension, in communities living under uncertainty, believers still say something extraordinary. Allah sees my fast. And that sentence alone carries a power many people cannot understand. Because true faith is not measured when life is comfortable. True faith is revealed when everything around you shakes. Today, we will explore powerful stories happening in our world right now, alongside timeless lessons from the Quran. Stories that show one simple truth. A believer's strength does not come from safety. It comes from trust in Allah. And the final story in this video may completely change how you see Ramadan. Stay until the end, because the final story will shake your heart. Most people have never heard the Quranic story that explains this powerful faith. What you are about to discover may change the way you see Ramadan forever. If you believe faith is stronger than fear, write "faith over fear" in the comments. Before starting this video, don't forget to like this video, because it gives us a lot of strength to continue sharing beneficial content. And I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to stay informed of our next publications on the Islamic faith. Share it with your loved ones and leave a comment to tell me what you think. Thank you and good video. The current world reality. Right now, as you watch this video, Ramadan is unfolding across the entire world. From crowded cities to small villages. From peaceful neighborhoods to places living under uncertainty. Millions of believers are fasting. Some are fasting in homes filled with comfort. But many others are fasting in much harder realities. In cities affected by conflict, like Gaza, families wake before dawn even when electricity is limited. In refugee camps, displaced parents gently wake their children for suhoor with whatever food they can find. In regions facing instability, believers begin their fast knowing the day ahead may bring challenges they cannot predict. And yet, the same sacred moment happens everywhere. Before sunrise, hearts turn quietly toward Allah. A whisper is made in the darkness. I fast for Allah. No cameras, no applause, no recognition, just intention. This is the hidden strength of Ramadan, because fasting was never meant to be easy. The Quran reminds believers that acts of worship carry their greatest meaning when they require patience and sincerity. So when someone continues their fast while facing uncertainty, hunger, or fear, it becomes more than a ritual. It becomes a declaration that faith can stand firm even when the world feels unstable. And that raises a powerful question for all of us. What gives a person that kind of strength? What allows someone to keep fasting when everything around them feels uncertain? Perhaps the answer lies in something deeper than comfort. Perhaps the answer lies in trust in Allah. Think about this for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, would your faith stay this strong? Sometimes the strongest acts of faith are the ones no one sees. Story of a family, fasting in danger. Imagine a quiet evening approaching sunset. Inside a small home, a family sits together on the floor. The room is simple. The lights are dim. The father looks at the clock again. Just a few more minutes until iftar. The children sit patiently beside their parents. They are hungry, but they are calm. Outside, uncertainty fills the streets. Sirens sometimes echo in the distance. Neighbors move carefully, unsure what the night may bring. But inside this house, something sacred is happening. The table is small. There is no luxurious meal waiting, only a few dates, a little water, and perhaps a bowl of simple soup. Yet the atmosphere is filled with something more powerful than abundance. It is filled with faith. Suddenly, the call to prayer begins. The beautiful sound of the adhan spreads through the evening air. The father gently raises his hands and whispers, Bismillah. The family breaks their fast together. No grand celebration, no large table of food, just a moment of gratitude, shared between hearts that believe Allah sees their patience. Scenes like this are not rare. Right now, families like this are breaking their fast across the world, including in places facing hardship, uncertainty, or conflict. Because Ramadan teaches something extraordinary. Faith is not measured when life is comfortable. Faith becomes strongest when life is hardest. And in those quiet moments of iftar, believers are reminded of a beautiful truth taught in the Quran. Patience in hardship brings immense reward. This is what true spiritual strength looks like. Ramadan reveals the quiet warriors of faith. The strongest hearts often live the simplest moments. Quranic parallel, Prophet Ibrahim in the fire. The lessons we see today are not new. Long before our time, the Quran told stories of believers whose faith was tested in ways almost impossible to imagine. One of the most powerful examples is the story of Prophet Ibrahim. Ibrahim stood alone against the beliefs of his entire community. He called people to worship one God. But instead of listening, his people became angry. They decided to punish him in the most terrifying way imaginable. They built an enormous fire. The flames rose high into the sky. The heat was so intense that no one could even approach it. Then they threw Ibrahim into that fire. At that moment, anyone watching would think the story was over. But Ibrahim did not scream in fear. He did not panic. Instead, he placed his complete trust in Allah. And then something extraordinary happened. Allah commanded the fire with words that changed everything. Be cool and safe for Ibrahim. The flames that were meant to destroy him became harmless. The impossible became possible. This story reminds believers of a powerful truth. Faith is not about living without fear. Faith is about trusting Allah even when the situation seems impossible. And today, when believers continue their fast during moments of hardship, they carry the same spirit of trust shown by Prophet Ibrahim. Because deep in their hearts, they believe one thing: Allah sees their patience. True believers don't measure faith by comfort. The strongest faith appears during the hardest trials. The Quran teaches that courage begins with trust in Allah. Real story: fasting during war and crisis. When life becomes difficult, Ramadan often becomes even more meaningful. Across the world today, many believers are observing Ramadan in conditions that test both their strength and their patience. In places affected by conflict, such as Gaza, families sometimes prepare iftar with very little food. A few dates, some bread, maybe a bowl of soup shared among several people. Yet when the time for sunset arrives, they still gather together. They sit side by side. They raise their hands in prayer, and they break their fast with gratitude. No complaints, no anger, only faith. For many believers living through hardship, Ramadan becomes a reminder of something deeper than hunger. Fasting is not just about staying away from food or drink. It is about loyalty to Allah. It is about patience when life becomes heavy. And in these moments, many believers say something deeply powerful. We may lose our homes. We may lose our comfort. We may lose many things in this world. But one thing they refuse to lose is their faith. Because the Quran reminds believers that patience during hardship carries a reward beyond imagination. And for those who continue fasting through trials, every moment of patience becomes an act of devotion. A quiet testimony that faith can survive even the hardest circumstances. This is the strength the world rarely talks about. Faith creates a resilience that no war can destroy. Sometimes the strongest believers are those facing the greatest trials. Story of Bilal, faith under torture. History is filled with examples of faith tested under unimaginable pressure. One of the most powerful comes from the early days of Islam. The story of Bilal ibn Rabah. Bilal was among the first believers to accept Islam. His unwavering devotion angered the ruling elite of Mecca. They wanted to crush his spirit. They dragged him into the desert. They laid heavy stones on his chest. They beat him. They threatened him with death. But through every moment of pain, Bilal remained firm. He did not cry out in despair. He did not renounce his faith. Instead, he whispered over and over, Ahad, Ahad, meaning God is one. Even under extreme suffering, Bilal's faith did not break. Centuries later, his story continues to inspire believers. Today, Muslims fasting in conflict zones or under pressure carry the same spirit. They face hunger, fear, and uncertainty. But their devotion remains unshakable. Faith is stronger than fear. It is the invisible armor that protects the believer, even when everything around them threatens to fall apart. Real faith cannot be crushed. History proves that belief survives even the darkest moments. Faith shines brightest under pressure. Under the spiritual power of Ramadan. Ramadan is far more than abstaining from food and drink. It is a journey of the heart, a time to cultivate patience, humility, and spiritual strength. Every fast kept during hardship sends a silent, powerful message. My connection with Allah is stronger than my fear. When believers choose to continue fasting despite hunger, fatigue, or uncertainty, they are not simply following a ritual. They are training their hearts. Ramadan transforms ordinary acts into extraordinary lessons of resilience. It builds spiritual courage. And this courage is not new. It has sustained generations of believers through trials, uncertainty, and danger. From the deserts of Arabia to modern cities under stress. Ramadan has remained a beacon of inner strength. Because the fast is more than the body going without food. It is the heart choosing trust, patience, and devotion above fear. This is the secret power of Ramadan. A month where the soul is strengthened, where patience becomes a weapon, and where faith shines even in darkness. Ramadan is the training ground of faith. Strong hearts are built through patience. The greatest strength is learned in moments of restraint. The global brotherhood of fasting. One of the most beautiful aspects of Ramadan is the unity it creates. Across continents, across time zones, across cultures, millions of believers fast together. A factory worker in Africa pauses at sunrise to take their first sip of water. A university student in Europe checks the clock, awaiting the moment to break their fast. A family in the Middle East gathers quietly for iftar, sharing dates and water. All hungry at the same time, all praying at the same time, all seeking the same mercy from Allah. Despite differences in language, culture, or daily routine, Ramadan reminds every believer of one simple truth: they are never alone. This global rhythm of fasting, prayer, and reflection creates a sense of community stronger than borders, politics, or distance. Even in hardship, believers feel connected to millions around the world, and in that connection, there is power, comfort, and strength. Proof that faith builds the strongest communities on earth. Ramadan connects hearts across the planet. Faith creates the strongest community on earth. Through fasting, believers join a global brotherhood of patience and devotion. The deep lesson: faith over fear. History has always carried a single, clear message. Fear may shake the world. It may rattle homes, hearts, and cities. It may make the impossible feel inevitable. But faith steadies the believer. The Quran teaches that patience during hardship brings immense reward. Every fast kept when hunger gnaws at the body becomes more meaningful. Every prayer whispered while fear lingers in the heart becomes more powerful. Believers understand something profound. Allah sees every sacrifice, every struggle, every act of patience. When fear surrounds them, their devotion does not waver. Instead, it strengthens. It grows. It becomes a quiet, unshakable courage that carries them through the storm. Faith does not eliminate fear. It transforms fear into strength. It transforms hardship into a path to spiritual resilience. And in these moments, believers to shine brightest, not in comfort, but in the darkness of trials. Faith does not remove fear. It gives you strength to face it. True believers shine brightest in darkness. The greatest courage is built during the hardest moments. Powerful conclusion. Heart-hitting end. So, when you hear stories of believers fasting even while danger surrounds them, remember this: they are not ignoring reality. They are not pretending life is easy. They are choosing faith despite reality. That is the true essence of Ramadan, a sacred moment when the believer whispers to Allah, "My hunger is for you. My patience is for you. My faith is stronger than fear." And maybe the real question is not about them. Maybe the question is about us. When life tests us, when challenges push us to our limits, will our faith stand as strong? Every fast kept in difficulty, every prayer said in fear, every act of patience in hardship is a reminder. Faith is stronger than fear, and it is this power that the world needs to see, hear, and feel. Share this video so more people understand the power of Ramadan. Faith stories deserve to be heard. Let the strength of believers inspire your heart today.